Julia, are we good to go? Everyone ready? Eric, Sean, everybody ready?
All set.
Okay. All righty. All right. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Columbia Association Board Operations Committee for tonight, November 24th, 2025. As discussed, we will continue to uphold principles of civility and ethics in this space, guided by our code of conduct, ethics policy, and Robert's Rules of Order. As with last quarter's BOC meeting, other board members are welcome to attend, but only voting members will be recognized to speak, since all board members will rotate through voting roles this fiscal year. Given the operational sausage-making nature of BOC meetings, I'll also take a more flexible approach to the recognized twice rule. Comments will be welcome as long as they remain relevant, non-repetitive, and respectful of the committee's time. That said, please continue to wait to be recognized before speaking. Finally, I want to be clear and remind everyone that BOC meetings are not intended for full deliberation or debate on agenda items. Those in-depth discussions will take place during full board meetings, assuming an item is forwarded out of committee. With that said, these are the procedures we'll be using to conduct tonight's meeting. I'll now call the roll of voting members in attendance. Bill.
Here.
Mike.
Here.
Eric.
Here.
Sean.
Here.
And I am here. All right, those were the procedures. We did roll call. Before we continue, just a quick reminder to everyone in the room. Tonight's BOC meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recording will be posted on CA's YouTube channel for public viewing. Please remember to keep your microphones off unless you've been recognized to speak, and silence noise-making devices, Bill. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda for the BOC?
So moved.
Mike first, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bill. Any discussion? Eric?
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment to add a topic under 6 to add an extra January meeting, considering the January meeting is slated to be a town hall, so add an additional regular meeting in January.
So like a new item B for a January meeting?
Yeah, call it B1 for a January meeting to take place 14 days prior to January 22nd.
Okay. There is, so the motion is to add B1 for Jan meeting. The motion was made by Eric. Is there a second?
I think it was overly specific with the 14 days, but I'll second that.
Okay.
Well, I do want to have it happen on a Thursday.
I got it.
All right. So right now the motion on the floor is to add a B1. Eric, is it okay if I just say for an additional January meeting?
Sure.
Okay. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Can we do hands, please? Mike, I think, was first.
I don't think we need it. I think looking at these agendas, we have a really pretty solid couple months ahead of us, and I don't think adding an additional one in January is needed.
Eric? Oh, you're still muted, Eric.
Yes, sure. Yeah, so when we went to the old meeting, new meeting format, the idea of that was we'd remove some of the meetings, but that would make room for town halls. The idea wasn't to subtract meetings and then convert additional meetings to town halls. And there's a lot of time. We've got a very solid agenda for the next several weeks. There's actually not much wiggle room in the current agendas. So having an actual meeting will actually allow us to attack many of the topics on the board topics list that we're not attacking right now. So I think it's essential to get another meeting in. We've already reduced it, the meetings going into the new business, old business format. Having more meetings go to town halls further reduces the amount of business we can conduct. So this will allow us to better go after some of those additional topic items that we're not able to get to.
Okay. Bill?
Yeah, just I think that we should have the meeting in January. I think if we're going to do a town hall, that's great. But I view that as not instead of a meeting. I think that's in addition to. if we do the town hall, the actual sit-down meeting kind of thing that we do, we're gonna go 2 months from the 11th of December to the 12th of February without meeting. And I think that's a little long considering we'll be in the middle of our budget discussions, amongst other things that will come up, I'm sure. So I think that, we should do the town hall. I think that's a plus, but I don't think that we should sacrifice one of our meetings in the middle of our budget deliberations to do it.
Okay, I'm gonna hop in the queue myself. I do not think that we need this meeting. I think that we have plenty of work cut out for us on the agendas that we have prepared for tonight. So that's number one. I think that the board will be able to conduct its business as is needed with the agendas that are presented. Number two is I'm not sure what the agenda items would be for that. I don't think staff is prepared to share anything for an additional January meeting. And I don't know if we'd have any kind of fruitful conversation tonight about trying to make an agenda kind of ad hoc for that kind of additional meeting. So Sean, I don't know if you wanted to hop in the queue or if other folks wanted their second turn.
Yes. I agree. I'm not sure we need the meeting. We talked about this internally. We thought the town hall in January was actually good timing as it relates to budget discussions. So we'll have, a draft budget for the public to see as well as the board. It's still a board meeting, even though it's a town hall, so the board can have discussion on that. And then looking at the agenda topics log, there was some items on there, and we thought we couldn't have anything prepared for January. So we thought this was the best course of action, in really, a tight schedule. But what we have on the agendas, we think are pertinent for the board to be discussing.
Okay. Anyone want to hop in the queue their second time? All right, then I will call the question unless there's objection. All right, the amendment is to add an item B1 for a January meeting. Everyone clear? Vote aye will add another meeting for tonight's discussion. Bill?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
Sean?
No.
And I will vote no. That's 2 in favor, 3 opposed. The motion fails. We are back on the main motion to approve the agenda as presented in the packet. All right, seeing no hands, I'm going to call the question, which is the agenda as presented in the packet. A vote yes will approve the agenda as presented. Bill?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. The motion carries. Approval of the minutes by consent. Is there any objection to the consent agenda? Then by consent, the agenda, minutes stand. I did skip an item, apologies. Residents who were interested in participating in Resident Speak Out were encouraged to submit to the portal online, and we did not have any submissions for tonight. Thank you, Julia. Sean, did we have any administrative items to discuss?
Tonight, no.
Okie doke. On we go to the December 11th meeting. Can I have a motion for what is presented in the packets?
So moved.
A motion by Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
By Bill. And Sean, can I have you present the December 11th meeting?
Sure. December 11th. Yes. The usual meeting format. If you get to item number 6, the consent agenda, approval of draft minutes from November 13th. Also, then the usual standard this time we have the 2025 IRS Form 990 review. Then after that, the approval of the independent auditors report for FY27. Next, under old business, we'll be discussing the draft capital allocation for FY27, as well as the incoming operating expenses. And then we would like the board to vote on the annual charge rate and cap for FY27. Then under new business, we have some easement requests. The first is for Fall River Terrace storm drain. Next is for Howard County South Entrance Trail. to do some work, and Jeremy's here. He can speak to those briefly if you need that. And also, not on the agenda that you have, but Jeremy requested that we add this because it's in line with the other two, is an easement for Cradle Rock Way to complete street improvement. So we're looking to add that. We can make a motion to add that. And then in addition, Dan Burns will be in to talk about a proposed splash pad and to replace a pool location. And then after that is a review of the Q2 FY26 financials. So if the Board Operations Committee is amenable, I'd like to make a motion to add the Cradle Rock Way Complete Street Improvement easement request.
I accept that as a friendly amendment.
So that would be, just so that we're clear,
Wait.
that's gonna be 8D now?
So,
Probably 8 with the other.
Oh, 8C, sorry.
just a point of clarification, Sean, the intent is for that to be in a February meeting if possible.
For the vote, right?
Well, for the presentation, because the way our sequence works, it would need to be in the February
I'm
meeting.
sorry. Okay, I thought you wanted the vote in February. I apologize.
Yeah, yep, just making a clarification.
So there's no amendment now.
Correct.
Okay,
So we'll make that in the February meeting. Okay.
coming soon. Okay, so just so that we're all clear, we're still on the agenda as presented in the packet.
Right.
Okay,
Correct. Sorry. Yes.
nope, you're all good. Eric, I see your hand.
Yes, I've got two motions or two amendments to the motion.
Do one at a time.
I'll do one at a time. I move 6B to 7A. So move the IRS Form 990 to 7A under old business.
Okay, so the
Or-
motion to
yeah.
move item 6D to
Seven,
item
make it 7D. We can do it afterwards.
7D. Okay, thank you. All right, the motion is to move item 6C to item 7D. Motion by Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second that, but I have a question.
Okay, the second is from Bill. Eric, is that a hand to comment on this amendment?
I will comment on it because it's going to get moved anyway.
Okay,
That's my comment.
okay. That was, just to be clear, that was turn one. Bill, turn one on this amendment?
Well, if it's going to get moved anyway, I will reserve my comments to when we have the full board here to discuss it.
Okay. Again, the motion on the floor is to move item 6C to item 7D.
6B,
I'm sorry.
6 Bravo,
Yeah, 6 Bravo to
7
7 Delta. Good call, Bill, using your fancy language over there. All right.
It's not mine.
Hearing no other discussion, the motion on the floor is to move item 6 Bravo to item 7 Delta. A vote yes will make that change. Bill,
No,
Mike,
No.
Eric,
Yes.
Sean,
No.
and I will vote no. That is 1 in favor, 4 opposed. The motion fails.
just a quick note for your point of information, the 7C, 7 Charlie, I'm sorry, 6 Charlie, approval of independent auditors. That is, Sean said we were going to approve a report. This is actually to approve the auditors for next year. So
Oh, yes.
just to let you know.
Yeah.
So,
Very good. Eric, did you have a second amendment?
Yes, I move to strike 8C.
All right, moving to strike 8C. Moved by Eric. Is there a second? I don't hear a second, so the motion dies. Okay, any other discussion? Mike?
I just have a question for the approval of the independent auditors. The audit committee itself is doing due diligence on that, and this is just to approve the due diligence that the audit committee is doing.
You're
right?
tracking beautifully on this.
Okay.
We're going to meet on the 9th of December and we're going to discuss both the 990 and the auditors for the next FY.
Eric?
So yes, the audit committee does their due diligence on this, but it's also our responsibility as a board to do our due diligence too.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion on the floor, which by the way is the main motion of passing the agenda as presented in the packet for December 11th. All right, hearing no comments, I will call the question unless there is objection. Great. All right, again, we are back on the main motion, which is the agenda for December 11th as presented in the packet. Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. That is 5 in favor. All right, friends, we are now on to January 16th. Is there a motion to adopt the January 16th agenda?
January 22nd.
Oh, gosh, wow, I can't read, sorry.
You were giving
22nd.
me hope for my meeting there for a second there.
All right, we have a motion from Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
From Bill. Sean?
Yeah, so this is the proposed next town hall meeting. We thought this would be a good idea for the board to present to the public and allow them to provide some input. We'll have a draft budget to be presented that the community can comment on. The second item we added was if the board is amenable to have maybe offer political representatives to come in. I know Representative Elfreth was needed to be rescheduled, but then also there's some people running for the county executive seat. So we're throwing it out there for this board to discuss if it's something that they thought might be productive to have them come in also to speak to residents as well.
Alrighty. Any discussion? Mike?
My only concern is just the open-endedness of the political representatives for 30 minutes. That if we have heck, even if we have two people show up, then that limits them to 15 minutes each. And if we want to stick to our agenda, which I want to get to that modified resident speak out, and if we extend that, that's going to eat into the meat of it, which I think is the RSO portion. And so are we really going to tell, council people or congressmen to be like, hey, we're going to hook you off the Apollo stage right now. You're done. So I don't know, maybe make sure that we're clear in communicating the invites that, hey, we're really going to stick to the 30 minutes and maybe limit the number of RSVPs we get or something. I'm not sure.
Any other discussion, Bill?
Couple of quick comments. First, if we're going to do a board town hall meeting, we should be specific and say town hall meeting on and fill in the blank there on the CA budget or something. Just town hall is super open-ended. I would like to at least limit it to the subject at hand. So if we could just make that modification, I'd be super happy.
I will second that if you want to make that a motion.
Okay, I move that we retitled. Yes,
or I'll accept
yes.
it as a friendly amendment.
There you go. All
Thank
right.
you.
That gets the job done too. I will also say that I'm not sure if we want to provide time for political representatives. This will be a meeting that will have a lot of back and forth already. And if we throw politics on top of budget, we could find ourselves in I'm not going to say it's going to be a bad meeting, but it's going to be a long meeting. That being said, I think that bringing the congressperson back is high on my list. We got to fit that in somewhere in one of our agendas at this meeting tonight. Last thing is that this would be January 22nd. Government funding runs out 9 days after this date. And there may be some other things that she may be tied up in. I'm just saying. So that's what I got.
And just a point of clarification, Bill and Mike, I'm having this as a friendly amendment to retitle it to something along the lines of Town Hall on the FY27 CA budget. Is that amenable?
Yes.
Great. Okay, thank you, Bill. Eric?
Yeah, I'd like to be clear on number 4, who we're inviting. Otherwise, it just looks way too open-ended. So I think we need to be clear on who we're inviting to this. Also, the resident speak out part is also not clear to me. I mean, if it's the same type of have a bunch of people just talk to a bunch of people after the fact, that's not really resident speak out. That's just basically a modified cocktail hour without the hors d'oeuvres. If we're going to have a resident speak out, it should be in a format where everyone can hear the resident speaking out, where everybody is part of the conversation. So I would like the modified resident speak out to be such that when people are talking, everyone can hear and everybody's got a chance to address the entire audience.
Okay. Mike, second time on the main motion?
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and move that 4 be changed to be specific for rescheduling Elfreth, and that it's not county or other political representatives, but that if we can communicate to other representatives that, hey, we're happy to host you at future town halls, but just do one politician at a time is kind of what I think.
Okay, so Mike, you're making an amendment to item 4 for Congresswoman Elfreth.
Correct.
Okay, is
I'll
there
second it.
second from Eric? Any other discussion?
I had a question.
John?
So, what will the board can vote on this? We still need to approve to contact Representative Elfreth's office to make sure she can attend. I guess that leaves me another question: would the board be happy if she sent a representative to speak for her?
She can send whoever she wants, I guess. And that's sort of the way things work.
No, I don't think I would.
I'm gonna hop in the queue, unless Bill, did you have something? Sorry. I kind of like the idea of keeping it open-ended for political representatives and sending out an invite to different folks, see who we get. I think it's, depending on who RSVPs, we have a Windows update available, everybody. Depending on who RSVPs, I think that could inform the allotted time that they get during that 30 minutes. But more importantly, I think it'd be more interesting if those folks could hang out during the modified RSO so that they could continue having richer conversation. I think it would actually be really interesting if they could just be around for item 5. So any other discussion on this amendment?
Yes, what is the amendment?
Yes, sorry. It's number 4 to be rescheduling Congresswoman Elfroth instead of having it as political representatives.
I move the question.
Okie doke. The motion on the floor is the amendment to rename item 4 to be rescheduling Congresswoman Elfroth. Bill?
No.
Mike?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Sean?
So no. So no is keeping it as political representatives.
Correct.
Correct. So no.
And I will vote no. 2 in favor, 3 opposed. The motion fails.
I'd like to call the question on the main motion.
All right, Mike has called the question on the main.
I'd like to make another amendment.
Okay.
I move to strike 4.
To strike 4.
Yes. Right
Okay.
now, this is way too open-ended, and I'm not sure if this is going to be a budget talk. I'm not sure how the budget talk, how political representatives really mix with the talk on the budget. I'm not quite sure that's a mix. So,
Yep. Is there a second? The motion that Eric is proposing is an amendment to strike 4. Is there a second?
I agree with you, Eric, but it's still not going to have a vote, so I'm not going to make us go through that.
Sorry,
I'm just gonna go on record and say I'm for resident speak out, so striking 4 is not in my nature, so
4 isn't RSL.
I thought it was,
no,
That
4 is
was
the
ours.
political representatives.
yeah.
oh, striking 4, I'm sorry, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm not striking the resident speak out. I'm,
Hold on. Is there a second for Eric's amendment? Hearing none, the motion dies.
Okay,
I'm going to call the question on the main motion, which is the January 22nd agenda.
I'd like to offer one more motion. I'd like to modify 5 to be a standard resident speak out format.
Okay, so amend 5 to traditional RSO.
With board,
Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion dies. All right, I'm going to try to call the question again, unless there's an objection. Groovy. All right, we are back on the main motion. The only thing that's changed than what's in the packet is a friendly amendment to retitle this to be the town hall on the FY27 CA budget. Otherwise, a yes vote will adopt this agenda as presented in the packet.
You might want to call it the CA budget and friends because we're adding political people.
FY27 CA budget and friends. Is it okay if we have staff wordsmith that? Great. Okay, everyone clear what a yes and no vote does? Okay, Bill,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
no.
Sean,
Yes.
I will vote yes. That is 4 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion passes. And now we go on to, I'm gonna get the date right this time.
February
February
6th.
12th
Oh, February
meeting. See,
12th.
you-
Oh,
see,
I
you
did it too.
as well. February 12th agenda as presented in the packet. Is there a motion to adopt this as presented?
so moved.
Bill,
Second.
Mike, Sean?
Yes. Go. Okay. The rest of my opinion.
You're up.
I'll start with item, this is the usual. I'll start with item number 6, consent agenda, approval of minutes. Then next under old business, so this would be when the third viewing of the budget was happening. So there's a potential for the board to vote on the capital budget and operating budget. Those are items A and B. They could vote on the splash pad location as well. And then the easement, vote on the easement requests that were on the December meeting. And I'd like to, the easement for Cradle Rock, and I think Jeremy's there. I think this is the meeting, Jeremy. You'd like to make the amendment to add this?
Yes, please.
Okay, so and now I'll just go through under new business. We'll have an update on the lakefront capital projects to review. There's a lot going on there. I thought it would be pretty interesting. So I would like to present the agenda with one amendment to add 7F, easement request for Cradle Rock Way complete street improvements.
Wouldn't that need to be under new business?
Oh, yes.
So 8B.
It'd be 8B, correct.
Yes.
Okay. Bill and Mike, would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes,
Okay. So Sean, I'm sorry, 8B is going to be what? Or Jeremy?
Easement request for Cradle Rock Way complete street improvement.
Very good. Okay, thank you. And that is a friendly amendment accepted by both Bill and Mike. All right, thank you, Sean. Eric,
Yes, I move to add under new business, discussing the compensation policy and possible establishment of a compensation committee. We're a pretty big organization now and approaching almost 100 million. And when we get to this size, a compensation committee would be very useful. And re-looking at our compensation policy, which is probably hasn't been looked at in well over a decade, would be very useful right now. So I move to add the compensation policy and the possible establishment of a compensation committee under new business.
how long, Eric?
Half an hour.
Okay, the motion is to add 8C for compensation policy and exploration of compensation committee. Is that fair, Eric?
Yes.
For 30 minutes.
I'll second that.
All right. Eric, is your hand raised to speak on this amendment?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Any discussion on this? Mike?
I understand how we do compensation studies for our staff as it's needed. I don't think this is necessary. And I don't know why there's continued questions about this when I understand it and other people have been on the board a lot longer than I have.
Eric?
I'm glad you understand it because I don't. I've got no idea how this works. I'd love to see a presentation on how this works, because I'm glad you understand it, but I've been on this board a little bit longer and I still don't know how this works. So I think it's time that this board looks again at this policy. What is the policy? And seriously look at establishing a compensation committee, because right now, when we're getting to the size we are, this is one of those types of committees, almost like the audit committee, the key committee to have at the size of the organization we are.
Do you have anything, Bill?
Not at this time.
My thoughts aren't organized, so I'm gonna hold off. Does anyone want their second turn or other comments on this amendment? Sean?
Just a quick comment. I mean, this has come up before. Internally, we evaluate every position as it becomes vacant. We work with outside consultants to do compensation analysis for each position. So this is being done currently, and it's done perpetually in an ongoing manner. So.
Any other discussion? Eric, second time on this amendment?
Yes, Sean, I realize that we do this internally, but none of that information is shared with the board. So yes, you're doing internally, but I have almost no insight in how this is all working. It's almost black box. And so that concerns me as a board member. Especially I know on our 990s, it's about compensation and how we approach it. So I think this is something that we need to address. And I think the last time we even addressed the compensation policy, goes back to like 2011. So this is one of those policies that hasn't been looked at in almost a decade and a half now. And that's concerning.
Mike, second time?
I think the only compensation the board really needs to be concerned about is the CEOs, and that the compensation of other staff is really an HR decision, and that we need to defer to them, and that our indication of whether or not that compensation policy is adequate is the level of retention that we have with our staff.
I'm gonna hop in the queue. I think I don't entirely disagree that I think at some point we will want to take a more substantive review at this policy, but I think that that's going to be a substantial undertaking, and I think it would have to be a strategic priority from the board. That will take a lot more time than probably giving staff, at this point, realistically, 2 months and change to try to prepare for something substantive for the board to have a conversation on at that point. So I think it might be something that needs to be brought up in a different context, but yeah. Unless you have anything, Bill, I'm going to call the question on this amendment.
Proceed with calling the question.
All right. So the motion is for an amendment to add 8C for a compensation policy and exploration of compensation committee for 30 minutes. A vote yes will add 8C. Bill?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
Sean?
No.
And I will vote no. That's 2 in favor, 3 opposed. We are back on the main motion, which is the agenda as presented. Eric?
Yes, I moved to add under 8C, looking at CA's pesticide policy, or if we don't have one, establishing a pesticide policy. And this could be very simple as just mirroring the county pesticide policy.
Add 8C pesticide. How long, Eric?
Probably 15 minutes is probably sufficient for this.
Add 8C for pesticide. Oh, I can't spell that. Policy for 15 minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Bill? Sean?
I believe we have a policy on some pesticides. Maybe Jeremy can speak to it real quick, whether we need it or not.
We don't have, there isn't a board approved policy. There's currently an operational policy that's internal to staff that the board was aware of. A memo was provided to the board, I believe, in 2022 or 23, stipulating a shift in policy around how we use certain chemicals for invasives control that were deemed necessary based on research and engagement with the board, engagement with village boards. There was an entire process that staff went through several years ago to develop our current policy.
Thank you, Jeremy. Eric?
The problem with that is that's a staff policy, so the staff can change it, modify it as they see fit without it even coming to the board. And meanwhile, we have residents that are living next to open space that could be subject to these chemicals that have real concerns about the effects of these chemicals. And they should have input into what's going on in the open space that is adjacent to their lots. So I think this is something that can't just be a staff policy. This needs to be a board policy.
Bill?
Yeah, I disagree with making the integrated pest management policy a board policy per se. It's an operational issue. But I believe some sunlight and some understanding for the entire board would be well warranted.
Mike?
The staff's policy is in our, whatever the Smart Sheets app. So I think that if it's of interest to board members, it's right there for them to find. I don't think they need it spoon fed to them at a meeting. And I certainly don't think that the board has any widespread expertise needed to make the kinds of decisions on what kind of pesticides are being used in certain areas.
Eric, second time?
I mean, this is why we're elected to these positions, is so that we can represent our neighbors, so that if they've got serious concerns about certain chemicals being sprayed adjacent to their lot, we as a board can address it. That's why we're elected to these positions. And I think this is the type of policy, it affects our neighbors, especially ones with pets running around there, just adjacent to the open space on their lots, kids running around. I mean, there's some serious concerns about what's being used. And I think we need to have a policy in place that everybody can be aware of, and that the board has some control over, so that when residents come to Resident Speak Out and start having concerns about this, the board has some ability to take action. Otherwise, if it's just a staff policy, then residents come to Resident Speak Out and we've got no recourse. And that means our residents have no recourse as to what's being sprayed in their, basically next to their own backyard.
Bill, second time?
Yeah, I don't believe the board has sufficient expertise to decide as to what needs to be sprayed where. I think that should be left up to professionals. Just wanted to put that out there.
Mike, second time?
That's absolutely not what we're here to do, Eric. That's absolutely not the scope of the board.
What is the scope of the board?
Eric, you're out of order. Is there any, everyone. So I'm going to call the question unless there's any objection on this particular amendment. All right, hearing none, we're going to vote on adding 8C for pesticide policy for 15 minutes. A vote yes will add this agenda item. Bill?
No.
Mike?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
Sean?
No.
And I will vote no. That's 1 in favor, 4 opposed. Motion fails. We are on the main motion, which is the agenda as presented with the friendly amendment. I am going to call the question, unless there's an objection.
Just for clarification, the friendly amendment is the Cradle Rock Street improvement, correct?
Correct.
The easement for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we've been working a lot tonight. I just
We
want to
have.
make sure I had it straight. Thanks.
Eric, do you have your hand raised for an objection to the calling of the question? You're muted if you're speaking.
The Lakefront Capital Projects Review, are those CA capital projects or some other capital projects?
CA and some of the county, just everything that's going on there. The county's doing some work, the Veterans Monument, so just all of them, along with CA's work.
Okay.
All right, I'm taking it that we're okay if I call the question on this. So again, we are on the main motion, which is the February 12th agenda with the friendly amendment, which is the easement at Cradle Rock. The vote yes will pass the agenda with said friendly amendment. Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. That is 5 in favor. Motion carries. I do believe that we are on our last agenda for tonight, which is the February 26th agenda. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Bill, second
Second.
by Mike. And, Sean.
Okay. So we'll start with item number 6, consent agenda. It's approval of minutes from the February 12th meeting. Then under old business, we have in there, the board can, if the board does not choose to vote at the February 12th meeting, this meeting, they can vote in the capital budget for FY27 and also the FY27 operating budget. As you may recall, the county was in at the last meeting to talk about the proposed library. The board had asked staff to develop some opportunities and challenges around the new library as they affect Columbia Association. So we will be in to present those. We call that old business because they had come in to discuss the library. So we thought that should go under old business. Under new business, we wanted to present the board to give the board an update on development going on in Columbia as it relates to Longreach, Gateway, the Newtown zoning. So we thought it'd be good to update the board and the public as to where things are at. And also we'll have some updates on board goals for that meeting as well. And we'll be presenting some of those. And that's it for old and new business.
Alrighty, thank you. Eric?
Yeah, I moved to strike 7C. I don't see how this board has any influence over the new library. I mean, it's not our library, it's the county library. See what influence we have over it.
All right, the motion is to strike item 7C. Is there a second? Hearing no second, the motion dies. Mike?
I think there are two, hopefully, well, there's got to be one friendly amendment, I hope, Bill, that we need to add a vote for the Cradle Rock easement on old business, because it's just new business at the first February meeting. We need a vote on it this time. So will you accept that as a friendly amendment to add 7D, vote on the Cradle Rock easement? He's waiting for you to acknowledge him.
Bill?
Yes.
And then I would also like to move to add an 8C under new business, and that is board operations. And that in speaking just over the last 18 months or so with various board members, there's a lot of opinions on how the board can just do its business better. Whether that's the way we're doing meetings, whether that's the way we're setting agendas, whether that's the number of meetings we're having, if we have enough, not enough, if the way we're kind of doing strategic goals versus annual budget goals. And so just having a topic to start having those discussions in public, and potentially make some modifications and decisions on that over the fourth quarter of the year. So just kick that off in February and then continue those discussions in the fourth quarter.
All right, Mike, you're adding 8C board operations for how long?
25 minutes.
25 minutes. Is
Second.
there seconds by Bill? Oh, I messed up my spreadsheet. Hold on, Mike. And then Bill. Eric?
Unless you can be more specific on this, I don't see what the point of this agenda item is. I mean, I feel like we as a board, our entire operations are spent and our entire meetings are spent discussing how we're going to run meetings. We literally did this exact same thing last year, trying to discuss how we're going to run new business, or maybe that's the year beforehand, how we're going to run new business and old business. This, along with the ethics policy, along with some of the other just board-centric policies, we're so intro focused, so self-focused here that we spend more time just focusing on how to run a board than actually doing business for our community. So unless there's some specific thing that you want modified, having a general topic like this, I don't see as very fruitful.
I'm going to just weigh in real quick and say I think Mike provided some context and monologued without the second, but it happened. So I think some of that context was provided, and if it forwards out of committee, then I think that we can have a deeper dive conversation during the actual meeting.
Well, which policies are going to be adjusted? I mean, we've got the board. Our board governing documents has what, a couple dozen policies in it. Which ones are you looking at? And you can't look at all of them in 20 minutes. So which ones are you most concerned about here? And otherwise,
Eric, were you going to make a point of order?
I was just asking you a question.
Okay. Oh, you weren't recognized. But anyway, did
Point
you
of
have
information.
Okay. Did you have something, Mike?
Yeah, Eric, I mean, you made a comment about, hey, we spent too much time on doing these things. And I think that can be part of the conversation, right? That if we're spending too much time on certain things, that maybe those things need to be delegated to a committee of board members that are interested in talking to them. Like that's the type of thing that would be up for discussion.
Bill?
I'll just go on record and say I thought that the meetings last year went great, so.
Great.
It was a joke.
Okay.
Sad that I had to say it was a joke.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone else want to hop in the queue? All right, I'm going to call the question on this item, which is an amendment to add 8C for a discussion on board operations for 25 minutes. A vote yes will add 8C. Bill?
Yes?
Mike?
Yes.
Eric?
No.
Sean?
Yes.
And I will vote yes. That is 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Just as a time keep, we are now at 10:15 p.m. on this agenda with the addition of 7D and now 8C. Bill?
I'd like to propose an additional amendment, and that would be a discussion on the resident speak out policy and ways to improve it.
So that's 8D for discussion on RSO policy.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Can I just provide some context that I think that's like wrapped up in the board operations as well?
I'd like to spend at least 15 minutes on resident speak out. I don't know. I don't want to crowd out the topics that you'd also like to address in the board operations. I agree that they are related and intricately linked, but I want to spend at least 15 minutes on resident speak out.
Eric?
So I think there's I think you're right on, Bill. I think we need to look at the resident speak out policy. I'd like to make a friendly amendment to specify that the board operations looks at specifically the resident speak out policy and also the 2 speaking rule for board members during meetings. Is that sort of along the lines of what you're thinking, Bill?
No, I'd rather not have that as part of the amendment for the resident speak out.
So
Just to be clear for everyone, I still have this as an amendment to add 8D for a discussion on RSO policy for 15 minutes.
Yes, and if I could just do a little table setting.
Yeah, please.
Okay, yeah. I think that in the past, resident speak out has gone long, and I think that that's a clear understanding there. But I think that with what we've seen in the last couple of meetings, the pendulum has swung completely in the other direction there, and I think we need to get back into a healthy medium for the resident speak out there. We need to tweak it a little more to bring it back more in so that it's residents are heard, board members are able to interact on some limited basis, and there is at least a short, brief, healthy discussion at the beginning of meetings.
Okay. Anyone else? Mike?
Yeah, I disagree. I don't think Bill has we've discussed many times. I don't think you have the right concept of what RSO is for and what board meetings are for, and that we have a very healthy approach to it right now, and that swinging it back in the other direction would be unhealthy.
Eric?
Bill is right on here. Bill, I think, nails it exactly. Part of the purpose of the board as Columbia Council representatives, as elected members of our community, is to represent our neighbors, and I want to hear from them. And I think if we've tweaked the rules such that they're no longer coming to meetings, they're no longer talking to us. That is a huge communication chasm. That's just a huge problem, and I enjoy listening to the residents. I want to hear more from them, not less. And it seems like our current rules are discouraging residents speak out, and I'd like to get back to that healthy medium as Bill talks about, to like let's hear from our residents again. So yeah, I think it's important that we relook at our resident speak out rules and figure out ways of better engaging with our neighbors.
Sean?
Yes, just one thing to note. So, from the organization's perspective, the staff, we appreciate the residents speak out. We want to hear from the residents about what their issues are. I don't think it's always productive to engage with the residents in the meetings, just because topics come up. Staff aren't always prepared to discuss the topics and go into more detail. And I know sometimes board members, they're curious, they want to ask questions around that detail. And, I just want to make sure our staff are prepared. That way, the current method is, residents can't speak out and be heard. They can submit their resident speak out through email, and that gives staff time to provide a more detailed response if required.
Mike, second time?
Yeah, I've made this point before, and I'll make it again. The idea that residents speak out is the only time that we hear from residents, or is the most effective time to hear from residents, is just not realistic. It's not like we're sealed in hermetic crates in between and buried underground in between meetings, right? We're out there talking to our neighbors all the time, or at least I am. I know when anyone writes an email to the board, I always respond to people. So residents speak out is a time when people are talking at one another, not to one another. And that's why we're doing things like the town hall with the modified format, so we can talk with one another. So there is just way more effective times to engage with residents.
Eric, second time?
The problem is residents aren't hearing from one another. So resident speak out is not just a time for residents to talk to us, the board. It's also a time for residents to hear from one another. So when someone comes to resident speak out and engages the board, they're not just engaging us, they're engaging the entire community, because anyone can go on to attend the meeting, go onto the YouTube channel, and actually hear what the residents are concerned about. And they may say, oh, they might have the same concern or a slightly different concern. And so if that is a key piece of communication, is being able to have a venue where residents can talk to each other. And one of the concerns I had heard from other residents, not just with Resident Speak Out, but also the town hall version of Resident Speak Out, where residents were just sort of talking one-on-one, is they lost the ability to hear from other residents. So being able to provide a forum where residents can hear from other residents, I think, is key. And I think we've lost that right now. So again, I like Bill's amendment here.
Okay. Unless there's objection, I'm going to call the question on this amendment.
Sounds good.
Okie doke. So again, the amendment right now is to add item 8D for a discussion on RSO policy for 15 minutes. A vote yes will add item 8D. Bill?
Yes.
Mike?
No.
Eric?
Yes.
Sean?
No.
And I'm voting no. That's 2 in favor, 3 opposed. The motion fails. And again, just a time check for everybody. We are at 10:15 on this agenda. Eric?
Yeah, I moved to add an extra agenda item to discuss the 2 speaking rule. I'm not even sure where it came from, because I can't really find where it is, but it just seems to be a new thing that just popped up this year, and it popped up without much discussion. So I'd like to add 15 minutes to discuss the board member 2 speaking rule.
Okay, this would be 8D for the 2 speaking rule for 15 minutes.
Yes.
Is there a second? Hearing none, the motion dies. And again, we are now back on the main motion, which is...
I'll call the question.
You're calling the question. Very good.
I think
So,
Bill wanted to say something though.
Bill, did you have something?
I have one final amendment on my agenda,
Okay,
or my list.
yep.
I'd like to add 15 minutes to discuss our international obligations with our sister cities. I think we do a great job with our multicultural programs, but the relationship with our five sister cities has decayed a little bit. And we either need to get that out there and fulfill that obligation, or we need to make steps to stop being a sister city participant.
Okay, so I have this as adding 8D for the international obligation / sister cities for 15 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Eric. Do you want to say anything more, Bill?
That's it. I think that says it pretty well.
Okay. Mike, sorry.
I think that's worth talking about, but I just look, and none of our meetings are scheduled to end before 10 now. So I think let's put that in the topics log and get that on a meeting when we're scheduled to end before 10.
Bill?
This was the only meeting that had any wiggle room on it at all. When we walked in, we had all the other meetings were ending after 10 o'clock, and we had a meeting that's going to be a town hall, which won't be a meeting where we can discuss individual topics. So I felt it was important to try and get it on this meeting.
Sean? Sorry.
No problem. Yeah, I know we've had many discussions in past meetings about, resident speakers discussing sister cities. Dan Burns has come in to talk about our approach with sister cities. So I know we've discussed it quite a bit, so I'm not sure what more we can add. I mean, there's always an opportunity as part of a Columbia update if you wouldn't like Dan to come in and give an update on where we're at with sister cities, but we are supportive of them. I think they were looking for some support that didn't make sense for us to provide, liability wise. So that's why, we backed up, but we have been supportive, and we do have staff on board now to kind of help support that as well.
Right. So if we're not exchanging people through the program anymore, and I understand that, what are we doing with these sister cities?
So if I can, we've done this before, so I guess this is a multi-person question between Sean and Bill and Mike, since Bill and Mike did the first and second. We've done this before.
Is Eric second?
No, the main agenda. It'll make sense in a moment.
Oh.
We've done this before, Sean, where we have the Columbia update with a theme. So I'm wondering if 4 becomes Columbia update : sister cities. And I don't know if that is reasonable for this meeting, just as a suggestion.
I mean, we can have just Dan Burns come in to give an update to the board on sister cities, and maybe if we have him come in, we can pick February or a meeting in February, and then the board can decide if there really needs to be an agenda item to discuss the topic.
Okay. Okay, I'll leave it at that. Eric?
Yeah, question for Bill. When you proposed the amendment, was the idea of this new agenda item a purely informational item, or were you looking to have the board approve a motion at a future meeting?
Well, no, excuse me. I was hoping that we could introduce the item in the February meeting, get an idea of what are the obligations to partner with cities in a sister city kind of way. What kind of exchanges do we do? What is the value of it? And then once hearing what that is, we could maybe have, there are other things that we can do to support our sister cities around the world, and maybe make a motion to work on that, which would then roll into a strategic priority for next year's budget.
So given that, I'm not sure if this is rolling this up into a Columbia update or just a CA staff speech to the board. I don't feel like that is meeting your goals as you stated them, but you might disagree with me, Bill.
Okay.
Right.
I just wondering your take on that.
Bill, this would be your second time if you want to respond.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that meets our goals, so I'll go with that.
Okay.
Sorry, Eric, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm gonna hop in the queue real quick. I think that this is an interesting, great topic. I am feeling like I'd rather have a more robust presentation. So I'm kind of leaning towards I'd rather throw this in the topics log to bring forth in Q4 just because 10:15. So that's where I'm heading.
I'm gonna be all over you to get it back up onto the agenda then.
10:4, totally valid. Anyone else?
Call the question on this again.
All right, so we are adding 8D for international obligations in the Sister Cities program for 15 minutes. A vote yes adds this to the agenda. Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
No.
Eric,
Yes.
Sean,
No.
and I will vote no. That's 2 in favor, 3 opposed. We are back on the main agenda as amended.
I'll call the question on this also.
Any objection? All right, so we are, just a recap and friendly reminder. The amendments were 7D to vote on the Cradle Rock easement. That was a friendly amendment. And then 8C was board operations for 25 minutes. Otherwise, it is as presented in the packet. Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Eric,
No.
Sean,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. That is 4 in favor, 1 opposed. All right, that is where we stand. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I heard first from Eric, second from Mike. Any opposition?
Nope.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right. You as well. Have a great Thanksgiving.